Welcome to another deep dive today, this time into the world of hot flashes.
Oh, yes.
And you know those sudden, intense feelings of heat that can just, completely disrupt your day or even wake you up at night drenched in sweat?
Ugh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and we've got a fantastic resource to guide us through this.
Okay.
The book Hot Flash Hell, Extinguish the Fire Within with Science-Backed Strategies and Instant Relief Hacks.
Catchy title.
Right. It definitely grabs your attention, and we're going to pull out the most valuable insights from this book so you understand what's going on and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
I like that practical, actionable steps.
Yeah, we're all about that here. No fluff, just, straight to the point. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So what really stood out to me about this book was how it kind of reframes the whole hot flash experience.
Okay.
Instead of just, gritting your teeth and bearing it, it encourages us to view hot flashes as a signal, as sort of biological mutiny, if you will.
A mutiny, huh?
Yeah, I love that term, right? Like your body's trying to tell you something.
It's fighting back.
Exactly. And the book points to that estrogen crash during perimenopause as the main instigator. And the hypothalamus, your body's internal thermostat, gets totally thrown off by this.
Makes sense. Our hormones are powerful.
Yeah. And understanding that interplay is really empowering. It takes away that feeling of helplessness.
Definitely knowledge is power, as they say.
So let's unpack this mutiny a bit further. What does the book say is really igniting these internal infernos?
Well, it breaks it down into three key factors. The first, and probably most obvious, is that estrogen plunge during perimenopause.
Right, the hormonal roller coaster.
Exactly. And it's not just that estrogen levels go down, but they can fluctuate wildly, which really messes with the hypothalamus.
Well, it doesn't know what to do.
Right. And the book mentions that even a tiny misreading of just 1 degree Fahrenheit can set off that whole chain reaction, the racing heart, the blood vessels dilating, the sudden sweating.
Wow, just 1 degree.
It's like your thermostat suddenly freaking out over nothing.
I mean, that explains why it can feel so intense sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's the hormonal piece. But what else is the book saying is fueling these flames?
Okay, so the second culprit is what the book calls the inflammation inferno.
Sounds dramatic.
Right. But it makes sense. Think of it as this low-grade simmering inflammation throughout your body,
Okay.
which can be caused by all sorts of things: stress, a diet, high in sugar processed foods, even gut imbalances. And this inflammation makes you more sensitive to heat.
So even without the hormones going haywire, inflammation is already priming your body to feel overheated?
Exactly. It's like adding kindling to the fire.
Makes sense. And what's the third piece of this puzzle?
Okay, so the third element is the nerve uprising, which refers to an overactive sympathetic nervous system. That's your fight or flight response.
Right. Always on high alert.
And when it's constantly triggered, it can start sending out these false alarms, these hot flash sensations, even when there's no real need to cool down.
Oh, so it's like a car alarm that's way too sensitive.
Exactly. It goes off at the slightest thing.
So you've got the hormones, the inflammation, the nerves. It's definitely a multi-pronged issue.
It is.
But the book doesn't just leave us hanging. It gives us some tools to fight back, right? Like that 60-second cool down you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. It's a 3-step process designed to bring your system back into balance when a hot flash hits.
Okay. I'm all ears.
So first, you ice your wrists.
Okay.
You're basically cooling down those major blood vessels close to the surface. And that can help signal to your brain to lower your overall body temperature.
Interesting.
Then you sip on some iced peppermint tea. The menthol in peppermint has this natural cooling effect and can soothe those oversensitive nerves.
Ah, refreshing.
And lastly, hum OM for about 30 seconds.
Humming.
Yeah, it might sound strange, but it stimulates the vagus nerve, which helps regulate your heart rate and promotes calmness.
So it's about calming that fight or flight response.
Exactly.
Icing wrists, peppermint tea, humming. I can definitely try that next time I feel a hot flash coming on.
Definitely worth a shot.
Now, beyond those immediate remedies, the book really emphasizes how our everyday habits can play a huge role in triggering hot flashes.
Right? Our lifestyle choices can really make a difference.
So let's unmask some of these hidden instigators. What does the book say about caffeine?
Well, it labels caffeine as a double agent.
A double agent. How so?
Because while it gives you that temporary energy boost, it can also dilate your blood vessels, mimicking that feeling of heat you get during a hot flash.
Oh, so it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
And the book suggests trying chicory root coffee as an alternative.
Hickory coffee.
Yeah, it has some compounds that might have mild estrogenic effects, and it's less acidic for some people.
Okay, I'll have to give that a try. What about alcohol?
Alcohol is portrayed as a backstabber.
Ouch.
It might feel relaxing at first, but it actually burdens your liver, and a busy liver can't metabolize hormones as efficiently, so it can lead to even more estrogen fluctuations and worse night sweats.
So it's not just the immediate warmth you feel, but the long-term impact on your hormones.
Exactly.
Got it. And what about the clothes we wear?
Yeah, those synthetic fabrics like polyester and rayon, they're labeled as silent accomplices.
Silent accomplices.
Because they trap heat, they don't breathe, so it's like wearing a plastic bag.
No wonder I feel stuffy in those.
Right. The book recommends switching to breathable natural materials like bamboo or organic cotton.
Makes sense, your skin needs to breathe.
Exactly.
So we've got caffeine, alcohol, synthetic fabrics, all things to be mindful of. But how do we figure out what our personal triggers are?
That's where the trigger tracker comes in.
Tell me more about that.
It's really simple. For just 3 days, you log every hot flash you have, and you note down what you ate or drank in the hour before your emotional state at the time and what you were wearing.
So you become a detective for your own body.
Exactly. And you'll be surprised at the patterns you start to see.
I love that. Now let's talk about solutions. The book dives into some natural cooling strategies that can help us fight back.
Yes, it calls them natural firefighters.
Okay, I like that analogy. So who are these firefighters?
Well, one of the stars is black cohosh.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Some studies show it can reduce hot flash frequency by about 50% within 6 weeks.
Wow, that's pretty impressive for a natural remedy.
Right. It's thought to work by interacting with estrogen receptors in a way that stabilizes the hypothalamus without the full-blown effects of estrogen therapy.
So it's like a gentler approach.
Yeah. And a book suggests a dose of 40 milligrams daily.
Okay, good to know. What else does it recommend?
Another powerhouse is ground flaxseed. The book calls it an inflammation assassin.
Because of those lignans, right?
Exactly, those plant compounds that have hormone balancing and anti-inflammatory properties.
So it tackles that underlying inflammation we talked about.
Right, it's like dousing the flames from the inside out.
And the recommended dose is 2 tablespoons a day.
That's what the book suggests. You can sprinkle it on yogurt or cereal.
Easy enough to incorporate. And for those who really struggle with excessive sweating, what does it recommend?
Sage tea is a good option.
Sage tea.
Yeah, it contains compounds that can help reduce sweat gland activity.
Interesting. I usually think of sage for cooking.
I know, right? The book suggests steeping 1 teaspoon of dried sage in hot water and drinking it twice a day.
Okay, so we've got black cohosh, flaxseed, sage tea, a powerful trio.
Definitely. And there's also a DIY cooling spray.
Ooh, tell me about that.
It's really simple. You mix half a cup of rose water with 10 drops of peppermint oil and 5 drops of lavender oil in a spray bottle.
Okay.
And you just spritz it on your pulse points, wrists, neck, temples, whenever you feel a hot flash coming on.
So the peppermint cools and the rose and lavender calm.
Exactly, a little aromatherapy boost.
I love that. Now, let's move beyond natural remedies and talk about hormonal balance.
Yep.
Is there a way to address that without going straight to HRT?
Absolutely. The book talks about a more gentle approach using plant-powered support.
Plant-powered support. I like that. So what does that entail?
Well, it focuses on phytoestrogens, which are natural compounds found in foods like soy, lentils, chickpeas.
Okay, I've heard of those.
They have a mild estrogen-like effect, so they can help rebalance your hormones without the more drastic measures of prescription estrogen.
So incorporating more tofu or lentil soup into your diet could be beneficial.
Exactly. And the book also mentions vitamin E 400 IU daily, which might help reduce hot flash severity by improving blood flow.
Okay, so diet and supplements can play a role. And what about those over-the-counter progesterone creams?
Yeah, the book discusses those. It explains that sometimes, even though estrogen is declining overall, the ratio of estrogen to progesterone can get out of whack, leading to what's called estrogen dominance.
Estrogen dominance.
And these creams can help restore balance. The book recommends using a pea-sized amount rubbed into your inner wrists nightly.
Okay, so it's a more targeted approach. Now, we've talked a lot about managing hot flashes during the day, but what about those dreaded night sweats?
Ugh, the worst.
The book has a whole section on tackling those, right?
It does. It explains that night sweats can be even more intense because your body temperature naturally drops at night as part of your sleep cycle.
Okay.
But when your estrogen is all over the place, the hypothalamus can misinterpret this natural cooling as a sign that you're too cold and overcompensate with a heat surge.
Oh, so it's like a double whammy.
Exactly. And this sleep disruption, especially during REM sleep, can lead to brain fog, mood swings, even weight gain over time.
So it's not just about being uncomfortable, it can have a ripple effect on your health.
Absolutely.
So what are some bedtime strategies the book recommends for combating these nighttime intruders?
Well, it suggests a few things. First, try eating a small bowl of frozen cherries about an hour before bed.
Frozen cherries.
Yeah, they're a natural source of melatonin, which helps you sleep, and the coolness can help lower your core temperature.
Okay, I can see that working. And what about bedding?
It recommends layering, starting with moisture-wicking bamboo pajamas and topping it with a breathable wool blanket.
Wool. Isn't that too warm?
Not necessarily. Wool is actually great at regulating temperature. It can keep you warm in the winter and cool in the summer.
Oh, interesting. I never knew that. And you mentioned acupressure as well.
Yes, applying gentle pressure to the inner gate point on your wrist for about a minute before sleep can help calm the nervous system.
Okay, so frozen cherries, bamboo pajamas, acupressure, and you also mentioned a freeze pillowcase tip.
Oh yeah, that one's a lifesaver. You keep a silk pillowcase in the freezer, and if you wake up feeling overheated, just swap it out with your regular one.
That sounds amazing instant cooling relief.
It really is. Now, and another major factor the book highlights is the link between stress and hot flashes.
Stress always seems to make everything worse.
Right. And the book explains that cortisol, your stress hormone, actually increases your internal heat production.
Oh, so it's literally making you hotter.
Exactly. And it further confuses the hypothalamus and makes your nerves even more sensitive.
So stress triggers hot flashes, and hot flashes cause stress. It's a vicious cycle.
It is, which is why stress management is so crucial.
Absolutely. So what are some simple stress-reducing techniques the book recommends?
Well, one is humming with long exhales.
Humming.
Yeah, specifically the sound OM. For 5 slow, extended exhales, it can help lower your heart rate and cortisol levels.
Okay, I can see that being calming. What else?
Brief cold exposure, like splashing your face with cold water or stepping outside into the cool air for a few seconds.
Kind of like a reset button for your nervous system.
Exactly. And there's also a 5-minute stress detox.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It involves 3 steps. First, rub a couple drops of lavender oil on your temples.
Lavender for calming.
Exactly. Then practice box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, repeat 5 times.
Okay, I've heard of box breathing.
It's very regulating. And lastly, write down one thing that's stressing you out and then tear up the paper.
That's interesting.
It's a symbolic act of release, and some studies show it can actually lower cortisol levels.
I'll have to try that now. While the book focuses a lot on natural strategies, it does acknowledge that sometimes medical intervention is necessary. When does it suggest considering those options like HRT?
It presents HRT as a potentially very effective option, but it stresses the importance of carefully considering your medical history, especially regarding blood clots, stroke, certain types of cancer.
So it's not a decision to be taken lightly.
Right, and if you do decide to explore HRT, the book recommends specifically asking your doctor about bioidentical hormones.
Bioidentical hormones.
They have the same molecular structure as the hormones your body naturally produces, so they can be a gentler option.
Okay, good to know. What other medical options does the book mention?
Gabapentin, which is usually used for seizures, can help quiet those overactive nerves that contribute to night sweats.
Oh.
And it also touches on some cool tech like the Wave, a wristband that uses temperature to influence your perception of hot and cold, and the bed jet, which circulates air under your sheets to regulate temperature.
Wow, technology is really stepping up in this area, and for those considering HRT, the book provides a decision flowchart to help guide that process right.
It does. It asks 2 main questions. Are your hot flashes significantly impacting your life? And have you tried natural methods consistently for at least 3 months without success?
Okay.
And if you answer yes to both and are considering HRT, it recommends requesting a full hormone panel from your doctor and discussing bioidentical options.
That's a great roadmap for having those conversations with your healthcare provider. Now the book ends with a 30-day cooling protocol. What's that all about?
It's a 4-week plan to help you implement all the strategies we've discussed.
Oh, like a step-by-step guide.
Exactly. Week 1 is all about eliminating triggers like caffeine, alcohol, synthetic fabrics, and introducing remedies like flaxseed black cohosh and the freeze pillowcase.
Okay.
Week 2 focuses on tackling inflammation through diet supplements like vitamin E and turmeric and vagus nerve exercises.
Got it.
Week 3 emphasizes stress management with things like box breathing mindfulness apps and choosing personal care products that won't irritate your skin.
And week 4?
Week 4 is about optimization. You reintroduce potential triggers one by one to see how your body reacts, consider cooling technology if needed, and most importantly, you track your progress.
That makes sense. And you mentioned something called the victory log for tracking.
Yeah, it's so simple but so effective. You rate the severity of your hot flashes each day. Note any triggers, the strategies you used, and any positive results you experienced.
So you can see your progress and stay motivated.
Exactly. Those little wins can make a huge difference.
This deep dive into hot flash hell has been so enlightening. It's really shown us that we have so much power to influence our experience with hot flashes.
We do. It's not about just enduring. It's about understanding what's happening and using these evidence-based strategies to find real relief.
Right. And the research suggests that a significant reduction in hot flashes, 50 to 70%, is totally possible through these approaches.
It is.
So I encourage you to experiment. Try the trigger tracker, whip up that cooling spray, maybe incorporate some of those bedtime tips like frozen cherries and silk pillowcases. The 30-day protocol is a great place to start.
It is. And remember, the key message from the book is, I am not a victim of my biology. I am its master. This is about taking control and feeling empowered in your own health journey.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And if you're hungry for more resources and want to keep exploring topics like this, be sure to visit https://payhip.com/flourishreads. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for listening to the Flourish Reads podcast.
We'll see you next time.